edition, the dialogues focused on the field of neuroscience.
Your Holiness, this afternoon, or now, what I'd like to turn to is the theme of the meeting on destructive emotions and talk about some antidotes to destructive emotions and how we can think about those antidotes in neuroscientific terms. And one question which we have pursued, whether meditation will have effects in a long-term way on this area of the brain. A more formal experiment that we have recently completed with Jon Kabat-Zinn, who presented to Your Holiness at a previous Mind and Life meeting. Jon Kabat-Zinn has been developing methods to use mindfulness meditation in a large variety of populations, including medical patients, employees in the workplace. He conducted the training himself. We wanted to explore the extent to which these factors of brain activity can be changed in normal lay people. The logic in this experiment was to see whether antidotes to stress, meditation, can have a beneficial effect on the immune system. So at the end of the study, the participants got the vaccine. The finding that we are actually the most excited about because it's so unusual and it has never been demonstrated before, and that is when we vaccinated them with the influenza vaccine, we actually find that the meditation group shows a stronger response to the influenza vaccine compared to the control group. We will be repeating this study with measures using MRI, which allow us to look deep within the brain so that we can actually look at the amygdala. We are energized with vigor and zeal to pursue this in the future, and we hope to continue this kind of collaboration.
Your Holiness, like my colleagues before, just a little thought before we begin. It seems to me truly wondrous that I'm here again with you once more. We have done experiments with audition, with memory, with conflict of attention between visual and auditory. The answer is always the same. The transitoriness of mental factors is like they come and they go. And what we have here is a correlate in this green stuff. That was, for me, the big discovery. That the brain actively undoes itself, so it creates like gaps where, the transition from one moment to the next is actually marked. So you have recognition and then action, but they are punctuated. It's like, saying perception, comma, action. You don't just put them in a flow, in a continuum. This is, again, what we were talking about the other day, that time lasts a little bit. And in fact, it lasts here. You can see the first moment of time of the recognition is about a third of a second. Then another similar moment when you do an action, which is pushing the button. And this is systematic. We have seen this in all kinds of different conditions.
It's only just interested to see whether you agree that this corroborates a point of Buddhist psychology. And that is, in the first moment is a purely visual perception, which is non-conceptual. In the second moment, whatever the duration of that moment happens to be, then the conceptual mind apprehends this is this.
Absolutely. You cannot compress a moment beyond typically normal conditions 150 milliseconds. Even it's something almost immediate, it's about 160 milliseconds. This moment of arising is another whoomph. So the brain works by these whoomps, and whatever it is, whether it's visual perception of a field, whether it is close your eyes and you have a mental image, it's the same thing. Then to really conclude, Your Holiness, my point is that this was done with somebody who is not really highly trained, but Now what we want to do is to take highly trained people, like meditators, who can actually go into much more fine detail what was the moment of experience. And for example, we want to work with the monasteries in Dordogne, in the south of France. And in May, for example, we hope to have Matthew come to the lab and do these kinds of experiments. So if we can find differences even with ordinary people, then with more expert people, we should be able to really go into much finer detail. So with that thought, I wanted to conclude, because this is where, to me, there is a true possibility of collaboration, not just in principle, but in a very concrete sense. Thank you very much, Your Holiness.